Have you ever felt like your mind goes too deep, like you see things others completely miss? You're sitting in silence, but your thoughts are endless. You notice patterns, energies, emotions, almost as if you're carrying an invisible burden of awareness. Carl Jung called this the weight of consciousness, and for deep thinkers, that weight can feel both like a blessing and a curse. Because the deeper you go, the lonelier it gets. Jung believed that deep thinkers are not just people who analyze, they are people who see. They see beyond surface appearances and dive into the unconscious layers of reality. They sense the motives behind smiles, the pain behind laughter, the truth beneath chaos. But in that sensitivity lies suffering, because once you see through the illusions, you can't unsee them, and that's where most people stop. But deep thinkers keep digging. For Jung, the mind was not a simple machine, it was a vast, symbolic landscape. Every dream, every fear, every strange thought carried meaning. To the deep thinker, nothing is random. Even silence becomes a message. That's why Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Deep thinkers often feel misunderstood. Not because they are smarter, but because they feel more. They experience thoughts emotionally, and emotions intellectually. It's not just overthinking, it's overfeeling. They can sense the subtle contradictions in life that others ignore. And they quietly wonder why the world keeps pretending everything is simple. Jung would say this is the curse of individuation. The painful process of becoming aware of who you truly are. It's the moment when the external world no longer defines you, but your inner world does, and that shift, that internal awakening, isolates you, because while others chase comfort, you chase truth. And truth rarely feels comfortable. If you've ever sat awake at 2 a.m. thinking about the meaning of your life, you've already stepped into Jung's world. He saw these moments not as weakness, but as invitations from the soul. Your anxiety, your restlessness, your existential questions, they're not signs that you're broken. They're signals that your psyche is asking you to evolve, to integrate what you've ignored. Deep thinkers don't drown in thoughts because they want to. They do because they must. Their minds are wired to seek patterns, to connect fragments, to find unity in chaos. But Jung warned that this can turn into a trap when thinking becomes your identity. You start analyzing life instead of living it, and that's how intellect becomes another form of avoidance. Jung often spoke about the shadow, the dark, repressed side of the psyche, for deep thinkers. That shadow grows even darker because they can name it, describe it, even romanticize it, but facing it, that's the real challenge. To meet your shadow is to meet everything you've denied about yourself. Jealousy, fear, weakness, ego. The deeper you go into your mind, the more you realize how little control you actually have. Jung discovered that much of what we call choice is guided by unconscious patterns. Deep thinkers notice this. They see how childhood wounds echo in adult behavior, how unhealed pain repeats in every relationship, and that awareness hurts, but it's also the beginning of freedom. Jung believed that deep thinkers carry something sacred, the potential to bring unconscious truths into light. But he also warned that intellect alone can't save you. You can't think your way to peace. You have to feel, surrender, and integrate the parts of you that logic can't reach. Because knowledge without depth only feeds the ego. Ever noticed how the deeper your thoughts get, the harder it becomes to explain them? You try to share what you feel, but the words fall flat. Jung said, that's because truth is not always linguistic. Sometimes it's symbolic. It speaks in images, dreams, sensations, and silence. The deep thinker must learn to listen, not just analyze. This is why solitude is essential for deep thinkers, not to escape people, but to reconnect with the self. Jung himself spent years in isolation by a lake, building a stone tower, writing and thinking. He wasn't running from the world. He was meeting it within, because the mind is loud, but the soul whispers. Deep thinkers live between two worlds, the physical and the psychological. They exist in constant translation between what is real and what is meaningful. This dual existence often creates exhaustion. You're not tired because you do too much. You're tired because you feel too deeply. And the world rarely rewards that kind of depth. Jung wrote that people avoid looking inward because it's terrifying. It's easier to stay busy, distracted, and numb. But deep thinkers can't help it. Their mind demands introspection. They are drawn to mystery, the way moths are drawn to flame. Even when it burns, they can't look away. For them, small talk feels painful. They crave conversations that cut through illusion, that talk about life, death, purpose, fear. Jung would call this the call of individuation, the soul's rebellion against the superficial. It's not arrogance, it's authenticity, and once you've tasted that, fake interactions feel suffocating. Have you ever wondered why deep thinkers often seem detached from the world, lost in a fog of their own thoughts? It's not arrogance, it's awareness. They see too many layers in everything. When most people see what is, deep thinkers see why it is, how it became, and what it means. Their minds are always mapping connections, diving beneath the surface where truth hides. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to truly know yourself, you must face the parts of you that you've buried, the fears, the doubts, the chaos." Deep thinkers can't avoid this. Their minds are constantly reflecting, forcing them to look inward until they see everything clearly, even the things they wish they didn't. It's not that deep thinkers enjoy isolation. They just find comfort in understanding. While others run from silence, they run toward it. Because in silence, the truth speaks. The patterns of their life, the motives of others, the meaning behind pain all reveal themselves when everything else quiets down. The price of deep thinking is emotional intensity. Every experience feels heavier. Every relationship carries meaning, and every thought spirals into a question about life itself. They don't overthink because they want truth. They overthink because their minds are tuned to the frequency of meaning. And meaning is never simple. Jung believed that we all wear masks. He called it the persona. But deep thinkers often grow tired of pretending. They see through social roles and surface-level behavior. They crave authenticity, rawness, something real beneath the performance. That's why small talk feels suffocating. It's like breathing shallow air when they were meant to dive deep. They don't crave answers, they crave understanding. Answers are easy to memorize. Understanding changes you. That's why deep thinkers never stop asking questions. It's not curiosity, it's survival. Their peace depends on clarity, and their mind refuses to rest until the truth fits. But here's the paradox. Deep thinkers often suffer from their own awareness. They see too much of the human condition, the contradictions, the hypocrisy, the chaos, and it makes them feel alien. Jung called this individuation, the painful process of separating from collective illusion and becoming truly yourself. Have you ever felt like you were born in the wrong generation or maybe the wrong world entirely? That's how many deep thinkers live. Their ideas, their reflections, their depth, it doesn't always belong in a world chasing trends, dopamine, and distraction. Jung said that thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Deep thinkers choose the harder path. They analyze instead of reacting, understand instead of blaming, reflect instead of escaping. It's exhausting, but it's also the only path to wisdom. Their loneliness is not a lack of people. It's a lack of connection. They crave conversations that challenge them, ideas that change them, emotions that move them. But when the world keeps talking about nothing, they retreat into their own mind, where everything means something. The danger of deep thinking is self-destruction through overanalysis. Jung warned about inflation of consciousness, when the ego believes it can solve everything through thought alone. But the truth is, not everything can be understood. Some things must be lived, felt, surrendered to. Deep thinkers often carry an old soul energy. They're drawn to philosophy, art, psychology, not because they're trying to be profound, but because they're trying to understand the invisible threads that hold existence together. They're not escaping reality, they're decoding it. Jung taught that our shadow holds the parts of us we deny: the anger, the jealousy, the fear. Deep thinkers spend their lives exploring that shadow, not out of self-hate, but self-honesty. They know peace doesn't come from light alone, it comes from making peace with the dark. That's why many deep thinkers go through phases of depression, isolation, or existential crisis. It's not weakness, it's transformation. Jung called it the night sea journey, the dark passage through one's unconscious where your old self dissolves so a truer self can emerge. And when they return from that inner journey, they're never the same. They speak differently. They move differently. There's a depth in their eyes that wasn't there before. quiet understanding that life is both tragedy and miracle. Deep thinkers find beauty in paradox. They know joy and sadness coexist, that peace is not the absence of pain, but the balance within it. They've learned to stop fighting uncertainty and start dancing with it. Jung believed that the goal of life wasn't happiness, it was wholeness, and deep thinkers chase that wholeness. They want to know every corner of their psyche, every impulse, every fear. To them, ignorance is not bliss, it's blindness. Most people seek validation. Deep thinkers seek meaning. They'd rather be misunderstood for who they truly are than admired for a mask. And in that quiet defiance lies their greatest strength, the courage to be real in a world built on illusion. They are often misunderstood because they don't fit molds. They think in metaphors, speak in layers, feel in galaxies. To most, they're too much. But to those who truly see them, they're everything this world has. Forgotten, silence, wisdom, Jung said. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Deep thinkers live by that truth. They don't run from their patterns, they study them. Because every thought, every fear, every reaction is a clue to the deeper story within. That's why they're drawn to solitude. It's not loneliness, it's maintenance. The world drains them with noise. Solitude refills them with clarity. In silence, they remember who they are beneath all the roles they've been forced to play. They rarely chase happiness because they've seen how temporary it is. Instead, they pursue meaning, growth, and self-awareness. They know happiness is a side effect of alignment, not a destination you can force. Deep thinkers don't fear the unknown, they fear not exploring it. That's why they question religion, society, and even themselves. Their loyalty is to truth, not comfort. And that makes them dangerous in a world that survives on illusion. Their depth often intimidates people. It's not that they make others feel small, it's that they mirror what others avoid seeing. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Deep thinkers live in that transformation. They are alchemists of the mind, turning pain into wisdom, confusion into clarity, loneliness into understanding. They walk through their own darkness so they can one day help others find light. Deep thinkers aren't obsessed with answers. They're obsessed with truth. There's a difference. Answers can be memorized. Truth must be lived. Jung understood this well. He believed that real understanding isn't found in logic alone, but in experience, in the collision between what we think we are and what life shows us we truly are. Many deep thinkers carry invisible battles inside them. Their thoughts don't rest. They replay moments, question intentions, and dissect emotions that others overlook. It's not self-torture. It's their way of making sense of chaos. But sometimes, that very depth becomes the storm they must learn to survive. Jung often warned that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Deep thinkers live that pain daily. Every realization cuts through illusion. Every truth burns away comfort. But they endure it because they know that the soul grows not in pleasure, but in struggle. The world may call them overthinkers, but they are, in truth, overfeelers. They sense the energy in words, the meaning behind silence, the story hidden in eyes. Their minds don't just think, they listen. And that's why they understand people more deeply than words ever could express. Deep thinkers are both cursed and blessed. Cursed to see too much, to feel too much, to never fully rest in ignorance. But blessed with vision, empathy, and wisdom that few ever reach. Jung would say they are the ones who walk the thin line between madness and enlightenment, and somehow, they learn to build a home there.